Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are. Um, yeah, I'm going to start some animation today. For those who are here today, thank you for joining. Yeah, going to be pretty chill. It's a pretty dreary day here in Melbourne, so the morning was spent editing that the video I just posted about half an hour ago. So that's why I haven't done much today. But we're going to animate the next shot in this series where Evie here is gonna turn. The camera will cut across to the perspective of the girl, and Evie will sort of sit and look at the girl for a moment. So there's a shot here. Hey, how you doing, everyone? Welcome to the stream. I have no idea who will be awake at this time, depending on my audience. Um, oh, welcome to from India. Thank you very much for joining. Um, Yeah, I haven't streamed this late in ages, so we'll see how we go. Um, but yes, as you can see here, we have ourselves a little bit of animation here, and I want to cut to the next shot at 120, which you can see if I bring back my Premiere file. Let's just make sure that I don't give away too many spoilers in that regard. I'm going to animate this shot where Evie sort of turns and looks back at the girl. So here. And then kind of want to get those shots out the way. So very subtle animation, this one. But you learn Lost Advance. Ah, yeah, cool, nice. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna do those shots today. At least do the blocking of those shots. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right in. Um, and be sure to check out the video I posted only half an hour ago when you have the time, because it's pretty cool. It's all about adding muscles to like creatures and stuff, and you can use it for all kinds of things. All right, so I'm gonna add a new camera. I'm gonna save that file, save it as version 2, and yeah, let's get rolling. Um, and of course, if you have any questions, feel free to jump right in and ask whatever you like. I'm happy to answer whatever you have in mind. But yeah, let's just get started. So I'm gonna add a new camera and bring that back over here. Now the focal length will probably be a little bit long, but it's okay. And then straight up, welcome, 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 welcome. Um, I'm not sure what's the time there in the east coast of the US. It'd be pretty late, I'm sure. At least I can't even think. Midnight at least. Um, all right, cool. So I got this piece here. Let's go ahead and don't tell me okay, cool. It's all good. The camera's got the right stuff going on. All right. I'm going to go ahead and add a marker and bind a marker to the camera. So when the frame switches over, the camera will automatically prioritize the second camera. So that's basically how you edit cameras in Blender. There's not much more complicated than that really when it comes to organizing your cameras. Um, and I'm just going to go ahead and obviously get the framing looking just right. So I'm going to use my storyboard off screen as reference. It's a pretty tight shot. Obviously, I want to get the girl and Evie in frame. So I'm going to actually make it a narrower shot. I'm going to make it a little bit narrower. And bring that in like so. I might grab the camera properties here and increase the focal length to 60. I don't want to see the girl's legs, that's why. um, because they're in the ground basically, so I don't want to do that. And I think that will be okay. In both cases, I'm going to go ahead and just shift the poses one frame after the next, so things look a bit more, well, yeah, in frame. So I'm going to grab that, I might actually rotate the camera a little bit in the Z, like so. And it's basically going to be like an optical illusion where she's turning, but she'll actually should be all right to just drop right down into the pose. I might move her legs a little bit though to sort of fake it. All right, cool. So next part is basically to animate the characters. So I'm going to firstly start off with a blocking pass for everything going forward. These characters already have animation on them from the previous shot. I'm just going to make it a continuous file and just hope to God that doesn't corrupt or something. So I've already made a second version, so that's good. I'm going to keyframe everything from that point onwards. So from the previous shot there to this shot here, keyframe every controller that I can see. And I'm just going to make her pose, as in the little girl's pose, a little bit more appealing. So get her leaning forward a bit more. And leaning more into the shot rather than, yeah, that looks better. And if I have to, I might even, yeah, I might do this. I might actually move her, boonk, there. Oh, actually, it's hard to say. I need to see Evie's face in between the bars. So yeah, I'll keep it like that for now. Um, and just like, so yeah, just lean into the shot a bit more. Get her head up like that. Also making sure that I'm keyframing that again. I might turn on auto keyframing there. And I also want to sort of fake her rotation a little bit as well. I might just go ahead and rotate her body so I can at least see her face somewhat. I don't want to see like the back of her head. So it's going to be kind of hard to get that going on. Like so. I think that'll be alright. If I have to turn her body, I might actually turn her entire upper body a little bit. That would be better. Yep. Sorry, I'm going to check out both streams. Yeah, going well. Pavi Darkin. Very well. Thank you very much. I'm on break between teaching periods, so it makes this stuff a lot easier. I got to smash this out before the October the 4th, though, because I got a contract starting that I really got to focus on. So I'm really making sure to try and get everything I can done before that date, because otherwise it's going to be absolute nightmare on a personal level to get everything that I need to be done before the end of the year. So really trying to get this, basically trying to get a shot done a day from now on. So even after this stream, I'm going to finish this shot. I'll just move into the other part of the house with my laptop. This is the great thing about the Mac. I can just unplug everything and kind of, do my thing. Do her eye line still make sense when you rotate her head like that? It will when you see. It does make sense in terms of the render. It will. Especially once you see Evie sort of drop to the ground, and then it will kind of look like her eye line is sort of lining up. I'm hoping to, at least. There's plenty of examples of this happening in movies as well, where they kind of fake it. The other thing as well is, in a way, I'm almost intentionally breaking these sort of rules to sort of make it feel a little bit more abstract. So yeah, I think even if I make the next episode, if I have the time to make the next episode in the future, it's going to be even more abstract in terms of its stylings. Just to sort of it'll make the animation a little bit easier in a weird way, and then also make it more and more sort of. I'm trying to make something feel a little bit more iconic than your standard sort of stuff. So we'll see how we go there. All right, so in this case, I might actually bring, because Eve basically has to turn to face the girl. She's already animated almost 360 degrees around. So in a way, I might actually, I'll do the full turn, and then one frame later, I might actually flip it and like remove some of the animation. So we'll see. All right, cool. Um, yeah, it's almost because if I rotate this, check this out. 0. She's almost in the same position if I do this way. That's actually worth doing now, actually. I think I might actually do that now. And have it like sort of flip between the poses. Boom. And then boom. Before you know it, she's reset her feet, essentially. Reset her rotations a little bit. Um, yeah, definitely. I think I might do that, actually. Yeah, that will be much better. So I'm going to do that as well. The reason why she's flipped so much is because her whole body was flipped up in this pose when she did a turn from the previous shots. So I'm gonna reset her whole stature basically. That one's okay, I think. Let's just go ahead and see what happens if I rotate her feet in positive. Nah, her feet's completely gimbal locked there, so I'm not gonna change it there. That's all right though. All right, cool. And I'm sorry if the chat cuts in and out. I'm not sure if it will. It shouldn't. I'm just trying to make sure that everything's like linking up nicely. But yeah, appreciate any chats you have. So cool. So what I'm gonna do is have her basically come down within a few seconds. Let's just delete that pose there. Wait, look at that. All right, let's delete those poses here. So we got 1, 2. We can delete all this animation here. Don't need it. And basically what's going to happen is within 5 or 6 frames, she's going to be on the ground with the girl. So bring Evie down. Rotate her body. I almost want to reset everything on the torso. I might actually do that. Click everything, reset it, clean slate it a little bit. At least then everything will be in its place. Let's see what happens there. Boom. Yeah, that's fine. That will work fine. So you can see what I mean by turn and into that shot. The only thing is that she's turning in the wrong direction as she leans down. So I'm going to make sure that hooks up. So when she turns, she's leaning forward toward the. I'll actually fix up her nose as well. Yeah, her nose is looking a little flat there. Let's get that working. Sorted. There we go. So that will read better when she turns now. And then what she'll have to do is when she turns down this way, she'll have to sort of lean into this direction. So going, boom. I think she's going to have to go around there. So what I want to do, I'm going to make this shot probably a lot more tighter, actually, than even my framing has it now. So, yeah, hoping that will work out. So her body's going to go down really low, just so she can get really close to the girl. I'm going to bring her body back a little bit and then have her sort of lean in. Don't worry about her head or her arms. We'll fix that up as well in a second. And lift her head up. I'm going to reset her rotations in her neck, reset the rotations in her head, and also reset the location because her head's like quite a bit forward. There we go. So I'm going to bring that in like so. So now when she turns in, she's going to turn, and then it sort of feels a little bit more in line. And then with her foot, just to hook that up as well, I'm going to rotate that way. Put that foot there. And and reset this one as well. So basically her foot's going to be on the ground over here at this point. Like so. And I might even, in this case, I might even, oh, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Why do her eye lines still make sense when you rotate her head like that? Oh, sorry, I already answered that question. My bad. Yeah, thank you. Cheers. All right, cool. So we got that going on there. So now her head, her body's in line there. And I will know whether or not the eye line thing is going to work once I render out a shot. Because in the darkness, it's a lot different than in the in this sort of raw photo, sort of raw image viewport, if that makes sense. Good morning. Good morning. Where are you from? It's 5 p.m. here. So let's see. There we go. I actually like her expression now. I don't know why. I might actually lift her eyebrows up a little bit now. Turn her nose a little bit. There we go. Pull that forward a little bit as well. Getting a little bit of issues there with the teeth. Actually, I might just push the teeth back. So I have controls for the teeth. Just push those back. Cool. For now. So there we go. We got ourselves a little bit of a turn. And obviously this is really, really rough. And her body probably does have to come back a little bit to the left. So I'm just going to go ahead and just push that aside a little bit. And maybe instead of her going so far left that it looks a bit weird, I might lean her body in a little bit, like so. Cool. And you can see here what I mean by the flip. So her keyframes are a bit too slow there. So I'm just going to go ahead and replace that. And replace this one. And you can see here that if I want to hook this up properly, you see how her foot's sort of coming in to rise and then hit the ground. I could go ahead and sort of rise up the foot a little bit and then have it sort of hit the ground over here. This depends on how it looks in the shot. So you can't even tell really. That's the thing when it's this far close. All right, cool. So what I might do here is when she starts to fall, this foot will kind of go back into sort of like a kneeling position. So that's going to go back like so. Ah, right. That makes sense. Yes. Sorry. Of course that makes sense. All right, cool. Let's bring that down like so. Let's get that knee up, foot back. And again, this is all off camera, so I don't have to be too precise here in terms of where the knee is going and all that sort of stuff, because it's all down to whatever's in the shot. Oh, thank you. It still needs a lot of work, actually. I've learnt a lot about what I need for my characters going forward. But yeah, there's going to be a lot of changes in episode 2, that's for sure, if I ever have the time to do it. There we go. That's cool. All right. So basically, I'm just trying to get from point A to point B in the poses to get this first part of animation done. So I'm kind of going to do like a bit of a block slash straight ahead style animation where I kind of block out A to B, and then I'm going to polish up the journey from A to B first and then move on to the next part. Because the shots from now on are quite short. So I'm not going to be too picky about really blocking out every single part. I'm going to do one piece. I might render that out, do another piece, render that out, do it sort of piecemeal. So yeah, that's how I'm going to take it from now on. Especially as the shots get more and more frantic going forward. 1, 2, 3, lands it in. So now you can see here that I just need to fix up her hands, and we got ourselves our sort of A to B pose. So A to B pose will be sort of good morning, good morning. Her A to B pose will pretty much just be let's go with back on this hand on the let's just reset that pose. Fuck it. There we go. It's gonna. I reckon it's gonna go full gimbal lock. Yep, there it goes. But that's all right. We'll fix that up. Hand on the bar. Oh, her body's actually quite far away from the bar. So I might actually bring her body closer to the whole thing. But yeah, again, I digress. It's quite a bit quite a simple move overall. So it doesn't matter at this stage because I'm blocking it out. You know what I mean? Doesn't really matter how messy it looks right now. I just really want to get an idea of where the arms are going to end up settling, where the hands are going to end up settling, and all that sort of stuff. So I'm not even worried about I'm not even worrying about gimbal lock at this stage either. So, you know, if it means just getting the hands onto a surface or whatever, that's all that matters. All right, cool. Let's fix up her shoulder. That looks busted. Both shoulders look busted right now. And that's because the her body's so far away from the bar, it's actually stretching it out and causing issues. So what I'm going to do is bring her body forward. I might actually select both the feet as well. Switch it to global and switch it to bounding box center. Hey, welcome. And bring that body quite a bit closer. So really close to the scene in this case. As you can see there, now we can fix up a bunch of stuff now. So now her body will sort of center on the in between that bar. Her pole vector will be over here. That's nice and fixed. This pole vector will be down like so. And you can start to see that now that's sort of fixed up that that issue with the shoulders. So if I go ahead and fix that up like so. Yeah, sure. I can explain gimbal lock. Let's do an example. Let me make a new window. And if you ever have to show it to someone else, you can point them to this video. I mean, there's other videos out there that are proper, but you know, give me the attention. You know, I need it. I need the attention and get the sub counts up. You know what I mean? So, all right, cool. So let's just assume we have a circle or a torus. Let's go with toruses. That will work well. Here's a torus. Let's give it a bit more thinness. Let's bring that down a little bit. There we go. All right, cool. So what I'm going to do is give us a color. Don't crash on me. There we go. Call this X. And give that a color. I'm going to duplicate that. Rotate that. call that Y. Oops, wrong one. And we'll put that in there. Actually, put it outwards like so. And finally, we're going to do Z. I have to make sure that all the axes are in the right way as well, but I digress. Duplicate. No worries, no worries. Have a good one. Thanks for joining, by the way. Thanks for joining. All right, cool. Let's go Z and give that a color as well. All right, cool. Let's just make sure that we're working in the same aspect as. Okay, so I got to turn this one, rotate X 90. This one will be rotate Y 90. And this one will be rotate Y or Z 90. Cool. All right, cool. Z will be on the outside. Y is on the secondary, and then this is tertiary. Cool. X, Y, Z. Yep, that's right. All right, cool. So how does this cause problems? So let's just reset the rotation of all these. Option, apply rotation. And we're going to make X a child of Y. In the case of the order, you can see here X, Y, Z. It actually works in opposite mode. So when you think about the axes, it's actually that Z is the master, Y is the secondary, and X is the tertiary. So the tertiary rotation, it happens in an order of rotation. If you've ever heard of order of rotation, this is what it's all about. All right. So X is a child of Y, and Y is a child of Z. All right, cool. Let's just reset the scale here as well. All right, cool. So if I were to rotate on anything on Z, so in the case of Z, it would be rotating around Z, so this way, right? It's taking along the whole set of that object, right? It's taking along the whole set of rotation, including X and Y. If I rotate Y separately, it only takes along X. All right. And if I take along X on its own, it only responds to itself. It doesn't actually inherit, nothing else inherits the rotation from that. Now, the problem arises when you are, say, moving your secondary order of rotation only in Y, and then you rotate across to the point where this happens like so, right? And what you effectively get is two axes that are overlapping one another. They become the same order of essentially we end up rotating in the same orientation of each other. And this is known as gimbal lock because you lose an order of rotation. So what that means is that if I try to rotate X, an object in X and in Z, they're going to rotate in the same fashion. And the only way to get out of that is if you change the direction of X or Y to sort of offset it. And usually what happens is that the computer spazzes out, the calculation spazzes out and tries to realign things to work. And that's why you get gimbal lock, and that's why you get that wobbling effect. So if I was to do this in a practical sense, let me show you what I mean with a cube. Let's reset this stuff. Oh wait, I can't reset because it has doesn't have any rotations. I have to reset this one. Reset there. There we go. All right, let's just do this with a cube now. And look at the orientation here. So if I go to gimbal now, you'll see the same thing happening. So if I rotate this in Y 90 degrees, hopefully actually happens in real terms. you can see the same thing is happening in the cube. The problem is now is that if I try to rotate in X or in Z, they're basically behaving in the exact same way. And this is known as gimbal lock. And you basically can't really get out of it until you force it to sort of break back out. And usually that ends up being a weird wobbly effect. So if I were to say, rotate in Y, let's do an example. Let's try and keyframe this, keyframe that cube. Let's go ahead and rotate in Y until everything kind of goes to shit. Let's see, which one was it? Y. Making sure that I'm in gimbal mode. I'm rotating in 90 degrees. And now if I try to, if I say, let's just go into local mode. Unfortunately, local still shows the orientations in a different way. It doesn't show it in a gimbal way. And if I try to say rotate now in X, or sorry, Z, I think we should get a weird spaz. There we go. See that? So because of that orientation problem, that order of rotation being lost, it's trying to figure out which way to go and it can't go anywhere. So it kind of causes a weird wobble effect. And that's gimbal lock. Hopefully that answers your question. Feel free to sort of screen grab this or take a clip of this. I'm sure it's going to be on YouTube. I can clip it out if I have to and put it as a separate video maybe. But that's basically the gist of things. Now you can fix things depending on which way you go about it. Depending on the way that your arms are situated or the legs are situated or the way your body is situated, you can try to mitigate that by anticipating the axes that you're most likely going to be using. So that's why you can change the rotation order of your axes. And if you choose the right one, you can mitigate any problems. So you will see that in my character, for instance, my particular character, the rotation order of her hands, for instance, are in YXZ Euler, because, or Euler, depending on how you say it, because I found that with my particular rig setup that I avoided gimbal lock 80 to 90% of the time with this order of rotation. It may be different with your rigs depending on how you animate. So it really depends. And you can always keyframe the change as well, which is kind of crazy. Anyway, enough of that. I hope that answers your question. A little bit of a tangent there, but I think an important one to talk about. So here we go. We got our little character here. You can see her hand is basically gimbaling out now over there. That's all right. It's only because I reset the pose 100%. So what I can do to fix that, I'm just going to go ahead and I might even have to keyframe a single frame change, but that's all right. Oh, my pleasure. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the kind words. All right. Now you can see here, the reason why it's spazzing out is because my rotations in my Z are basically almost 360 degrees. So what I'm going to do is essentially reset the pose here and simplify that in that single keyframe between the shots. Oh, my pleasure. Once I do another rigging tutorial, I'll probably do it in more depth because I'm teaching it next trimester. So I have to talk about it more often. So I might make a separate video again for that. All right, cool. So there we go. We've got some rotations there. I'm going to reset this rotation here. And that should fix the gimbal lock on that arm. And there we go. Perfect. And here I might maintain that rotation, hook up the rotation there in the hand as she pulls away. Make sure that's nice and obvious. See how she's turning her arm that way? It's going to continue on into that pose. And that looks pretty close, actually. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. All right, cool. So now I'm just going to try and get into that sort of the pose that I want to be at the end of this animation. Let's go ahead and do that. I want to try and get her eyes at least visible there. Yeah, well, this one, the next series will probably have to be a combination at very least in Maya and Blender because I'm teaching it in Maya. So I can guarantee it though, if you learn how to rig in Maya, you have a way better understanding of how the joint system works or how joints and rotations and all that sort of stuff works and bone rolls if you practice in Maya first. That's not just me being biased, that's just how it is, in my opinion. I think because it's such a much more technical software in that regard, I think it'll be worthwhile learning. But yeah, I do plan on doing another tutorial series on rigging characters or an updated version over the next few months if I have the time as well. So it might be a combination of both. I have a lot of plans basically. The big thing that we'll be covering over the next couple of months will probably be most likely animation and rigging because I'm teaching them in real life, not just in YouTube world. So I'll have to cover that a lot more. And I really wanted to make this year all about animation as well. So it really works out for me as well, which is great. So you can see now that's starting to really come together in terms of like just the hookup. This is known as a hookup where you go from one shot to another. And although the poses may not be perfectly aligned, and that's just part of the magic, it feels like they're correct. See how it just sort of jumps? I'm sort of skipping time a little bit, essentially. And you can kind of see that despite that, your eyes, when you're looking at this shot at least, you don't really think about it in that light. So if I were to just go ahead and frame that a little bit more, so you can see what's going on, that looks better now. You can see that it feels pretty good with regards to that. All right, cool. So you can see here now the problem is it's nothing to do with the posing itself so much as it is about the arcs. So we're going to clean up those arcs and make sure they look really nice and pro, I guess you can say. Let's fix up the elbows first. Her hand's really going crazy there. That's all right though. That was kind of cool anyway. I kind of like that. Yeah, it looks kind of cool. I like that, to be honest. Yeah, that was cool. I like that. That'll work fine. All right, cool. So you can see here that the reason why this feels really robotic is because of this happening. So if I were to go ahead and shorten out that time span and create a motion path, you'll see just how linear that animation is. The animation is super, super linear. And that's what really causes that robotic feeling in a lot of sort of amateurish animation. So what you kind of want to do is mitigate that through arcs. Arcs and easing basically. So you can see she's really coming down pretty hard, and I kind of want her to, obviously, because it's a quick little scene. So what I'm going to do is pull her body a little bit this way and have her sort of slide into the shot. And already that's feeling a lot better. So looking back at this shot, you can see just how much different that feels. All right. So the next thing I'm going to do is sort of get that maybe a little bit of a bounce in there. I don't know yet. I kind of want to have a sort of impact into the ground a little bit as she sort of settles into that pose. So I might have her overshoot a little bit and bring her body a little bit this way. And if I reset those motion paths, you'll sort of see a little bit of those keyframes taking shape in a little tiny arc at the bottom. And you can kind of, yeah, there we go. That feels way better. How much, what are the difference that is? All right, cool. And then I kind of work my way up um, through the things. Do I prefer going straight to splines? Depends on the pose. So stuff like this, little quick one-to-one shots. So a pose to pose shots like this. No problem going straight to splines. More complex actions like this one here. Um, I think I animated. Yeah, I can't even recall now. This whole shot here, I blocked it out in stepped, and then I splined it because there's a few sort of subtleties that I wanted to really get in there. So and then I splined it. But here I don't really care. So you can see here her head's pretty tilted. So what I'm going to do is obviously fix up that tilt. I'm trying to figure out exactly which way her head should be turning actually. It should be turning that way. But it feels wrong that she's turning backwards. I think her pose should already be at that point, I think actually. And then just work with the eye line instead. Yeah, definitely. I like that more. Like she's already turned her head. The only thing that's moving really is her body. I like that a lot. Yeah, that looks fine. All right, cool. So now we kind of work our way through the spine. So working our way through the spine to get a little bit of overlap in there, a little bit of follow through. So as she's turning, obviously fixing up her her completely screwed up arms there along the way. There we go. Fix that up. Maybe even. Oops, sorry, wrong one. Let's close that. Actually, I don't need that shit. May as well make that front and center. Um, I could even get a little bit of overlap in the elbow a little bit, like as in like rotating that a little bit, depending on how. Yeah, her arms are way too low there, so I might actually get a little bit of wobble in there. Yeah, that's cool. And then when she settles, I'm thinking of adding a little bit of a settle in her elbow. So as she goes in, her elbow sort of goes in like that and sort of settles like that. A little bit of settle in there. I mean, I shouldn't have done it so early, but you know, it just gives you an indication of what I want to do. It's almost like minor note taking. All right, cool. So next thing to do, spine. So what I'm actually tempted to do again is add a little bit of settle. See how much difference that makes? A little bit of that, a little bit of a delay in the body there. And even a little bit of twist in that body might actually come in handy as well. So when she's turning here, hey, how you doing? Welcome to the channel. Oh, welcome to the chat, rather. What I'm going to do here is I might, let's see how her body's turning there. All right, cool. So what I want to do, I might give her a little bit of a bend in her body downwards along X, making sure that I'm using local orientation. And then sort of lifting her body up as she, yeah, that looks cool. Yeah, that looks mad. And I can even add a little bit more overlap in that body as well. Let's go a little bit like so, a little bit of settle. And maybe add a little bit of rotation in there. Do I watch the Big Les show? I've seen parts. I'm not a weekly watcher, I guess you can say, or whenever it comes out. But I did watch a fair chunk of it when it first came out. It's weird that how those shows have sort of become Australian icons, which is really interesting. And just goes to show you how good, like when you do stylization properly, um, it can be very forgiving. And that's the thing about stylization is that if you're not super confident in your animation skills, just stylize the shit out of it, and people won't give a crap. So there we go. Upper body is looking pretty good. But the hips are looking very robotic still. You can kind of see what I mean at the bottom there. Like they kind of just stay in their place. It depends on where you work. Depends on where you end up working. I would say Maya is still definitely in the primary spot of most studios. Um, Maya is great for those sort of environments where pipeline matters. Blender is great for smaller freelance jobs like I do. I do a lot of freelance. It's great for smaller studios who don't have the budget to afford, a team of 10 using, Maya. Um, those sort of things. So it really, really depends on the situation that you're going to end up being. I would anticipate you would need to know Maya for sure. No question about it. And it pays to understand both. It really does. And despite what the internet says about things, both one is not really 100% better than the other. There are things that Maya just does better than Blender, no question about it. I would say Maya for understanding things, and then Blender for when you eventually end up hating the industry and wanting to work for yourself. Put it that way. You'll notice that a lot of people who get out of the industry and start working on their own tend to go down the Blender route because of the ease of access and the I guess the community and also the freedom it brings. So look at that little hip sway, how much that makes a difference there. Add absolutely awesome. Like just that little bit of settle in the hips. Suddenly everything starts to feel way, way more natural. Now, whether or not that's just biomechanically accurate, who gives a shit in this case? I'm doing a cartoon essentially. But in VFX land, this would probably be very, very, they'd be very picky about that sort of shit. Yeah, but rigging in Houdini, I can't imagine trying that. I would love to give it a go, but again, it's about accessibility really, that more than anything. Um, Houdini shouldn't be too hard if you understand its fundamentals. Um, I can imagine the learning curve of understanding where all the nodes are. It's more about I'd say definitely the interface is the hurdle, really. Um, but you can do amazing things with it, that's for sure. What's making you rig it inside of Houdini? What's making you learn how to do it in Houdini? Is it just you know, looking toward the future sort of thing? Because that's really is, in a way, it really is where it's going. I'm not sure how good their animation tools are in Houdini though. All right, cool. So we got ourselves I'm actually quite happy with the way the body is sort of operating now, the actual torso. So now it's time to sort of work out the extremities, so the head, the arms, the hands. So let's go ahead and start with the shoulders. So working our way out, you can kind of see I want to get that looking a little bit like a little bit of a drop in the shoulder, and then when she comes into a settle, it kind of lifts it back up. It can be really subtle. There we go. You can kind of see that going on there. Same thing in this elbow in shoulder here. So she will turn, and as she rises up her arm to that bar, and you can kind of settle that out a little bit. All right, cool. We're getting there in the end. We're making good progress as well. I mean, like, how long have I been on here for? 51 minutes. Despite what you think, I'm feeling pretty happy about what I've done so far. Even though it's like 20 frames of animation, I still feel good about it. Um, everything's kind of hooking up in its own little way. I will probably fix the rotation there. So you can see where the gun, it kind of if you look at the motion paths again, it kind of goes in and then sort of drops down. So I might actually bring out that a little bit. And it's also clipping through the bars, so that doesn't help. That looks a bit better, I think. Yeah, that looks like a better pose as well. Um, obviously making sure to clean up the horrendous pole vector. Yeah, I like that. That looks way better. Yeah, that looks awesome. See how yeah, when you add a little bit of that, it almost looks like the muscles moving. It's just a trick of the eye, really. I love it. That little bit there. Technically, the elbow is just popping, but in the case of this, it looks really cool. I think it adds so much to it. All right, cool. So now what I might do to cap this off is get the hands just basically posed onto that pole. And rather than stopping like at a complete stop, let's just firstly pose this first into its correct sort of place. I don't know why I say let's. I think it's just more about like um, making sure that you're involved as well. I am animating it. No one else is really animating it. No one else will animate this, but let's make it collective anyway. Um, is the gun rigged separately and attached with constraints? Yes. Yes, it is. Good question. The gun is not really rigged, so to speak. I don't even have a trigger animation. Wait, was I in your stream the other day? I have no idea. Uh, welcome. If you weren't here, welcome. I last streamed on Monday or Tuesday, I think, last week. It's been a busy week last week, so lots of appointments. All right, let's get that pose up and running in the hand. Now, I'm not really worried about what keyframe I'm putting this on because I can just edit it anyway. I'm effectively just resetting some of the poses here and there. All right. No idea. All right, cool. Let's get this going over here. Was I animating a different shot that day? I would have been animating a different shot, um, if that was the case. Cool. All right. There we go. I might actually get her pinky in a little bit closer. Maybe. Yep, something like that. Oh, my pleasure. It takes effort, that's tell you right. But I'm hoping the next one actually comes out a little easier. I'm not really happy with her finger joints in this rig. They're too the tips are way too short. I made that mistake, that's for sure. But it's too far gone to change it at this point, unfortunately. And it looks really weird. uh Bezier. I never work in linear unless it's robotic, really. All right, cool. I might actually bring that in. Oh, just a little bit, like so. This will look a lot better when rendered. So if you actually save this, I'm going to save this now and have a little squiz. I did save it, just so you guys know, in case you've seen that beach ball of death doing its thing. It's just loading the materials. There we go. Do I have lights turned on? I do. Where the hell are they? Anyway, you can see here the hands look a lot better when they're rendered. So I'm not too concerned about that. Anyway, let's move on. Cool. I can also remove these arcs as well. I don't need to see them anymore. So just clear the motion paths and that will fix that up. Um, cool. What's next? So you can see just how quick, like when the if I have a two-handed weapon and make the hands of my character a child of the weapon, is there any way to avoid them moving apart from the weapon when I move the main root bone? Since the root bone is the original parent of the hands. Um, Trying to think. The problem with two-handed props is always the risk of ending up with a cyclic error. That's what's causing it to sort of spaz out. I'd say as long as okay, so the way it would work, it depends on the computer, but for this one, it probably takes about half an hour a shot for about 200 frames. With the laptop on the PC that I have, it'll probably take about 10 minutes. Because I'm rendering an Eevee. So with your two-handed weapon, what I would recommend is you get the pose in place where you want the weapon to be picked up. Make sure the weapon itself, though, isn't part of your rig. So it's not actually in the rig, it's a separate rig. And that will avoid any parenting issues. And it should work. It should work automatically after that. I'm not sure why it would end up moving apart from the weapon, moving away from the weapon. I'm not sure why. If you want to look into this, it might actually be worth looking into the Blender Foundation's workshop stuff for Spring. Spring will have some stuff in there about that. You might even be able to download the shot and see how they did it. Um, yeah, I think that's my recommendation. They also have a very good animation workshop on the Blender Foundation as well. All right, cool. So here you'll see the hand is really sliding up there quickly. So what I'm going to do is, firstly, get the pose outwards a little bit more. Unhide that control. Again, classic Blender bullshit with the G and H being so close to each other. And then have that come in like so. And that looks a lot better already. And then what I'm going to do is have her slide her hand up just a tad. No worries. Just a tad to sort of ease that in. There we go. All right, cool. So rather looking really clawy though, what I'm going to do is as she's pulling her hand out like that, I'm going to pose her fingers to sort of act like they're about to clasp bar. Make sure I got individual origins turned on. There we go, that's fine. I might reset the, yeah, one's okay. All right, cool. And now with the fingers, I'm going to reset the pose here. I'm going to select all the little bits and bobs. And just arch them out a little bit. Again, I'm going to try and go with a local orientation, rotate on X. That looks pretty good. And then at the root of those fingers, push them back that way. And now spread out the fingers a little bit. 1, 2. Oh, not too much. Oh, that looks kind of weird. And I might actually give that a little bit of an arch in the hand. There we go. And already that looks a lot better. I might actually select everything. For me, I made a 7-second long animation and took 9 hours to render. Did you render it with cycles? If you render, it really depends on what kind of settings you had in the render as well. So if you had like massive amounts of samples and just went with the defaults in Blender, it will take forever for sure. No question about that. There you go. All I want is like a little hint of her grasping that. I don't want it to be like too slow. But what I can do here is offset the animation somewhat in the pinky maybe. Just give it a little bit of a 2-frame delay. There we go, that looks pretty cool. Do the same thing on these controls here. And that looks a little bit better. Yeah, that could work all right. Cool. And making sure that I also got her thumb well and truly firmly put on that pole there. There we go. Cool. All right. Yeah, her fingers don't look great in this rig. I need to fix those up in the future. All right, cool. Last thing to do, at least to cap off this part of the evening, is just get some blinks and some emotion into those eyes. So what I'm going to do is obviously get her looking down toward the girl as early as possible. And what I might do is actually when she's first she has to look at the ground to make sure she's actually hitting the ground without smashing her face in, and then it's almost like there's an arc in the eyes as well. How cool is that? And sort of settle them as well. How much of a difference that makes is it's just insane. All right, cool. Next thing to do, I'm just gonna add a little bit of a blink. Not sure why the scale isn't working here for some reason. Oh, they are. It is working. So, all right, cool. I don't want to screw with the scale on those controllers because I think it looks quite nice. Um, but what I need to do here is when she's falling or when she's doing a thing, going down, we need to get those blinks in there. Now this rig is actually all spline based, as in not spline based, skinned. There's no blend shapes in her face. But again, in the future, I think I'll end up going with blend shapes just to get a more appealing control. All right, cool. Copy that. Copy that. And then when she opens up, I'm going to copy this pose here. Paste it. Actually, that looks kind of nice. Let's have a look. Actually, looks really nice already. I actually like that already. What I might do then is just pop those eyes open a little bit into a settle. Or an overshoot. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just to give it a little bit more urgency. Do I ever put drivers for blinks? Yes. The girl has them. The girl has it for blinks. Look at that. That looks nice. All right, cool. Oops, I've moved her keyframes. My bad. I might do the same thing with her eyebrows. So bring them down a little bit. And then as she opens her eyes, up. And then into a settle. How nice is that? um, yeah, I can show you the setup for the girl before I wrap up, actually. I might do that. Because I'm going to wrap it up here because I need to have dinner. But yeah, as you can see, turns, goes into the fight, into the scene. I really like that. What do you guys think? I think it looks pretty cool. Obviously, the girl will have to sort of turn to obviously acknowledge the movement, but Evie's looking pretty alive at this point. I'm really happy with it. All right, cool. I'm gonna save that. Open up the rig. Let's check it out before we wrap it up. So I did a major change for the girl a few weeks ago, and I wish I did it earlier. I wish I could do it with Evie at this point, but there's too many shots shot with her to change at this point. So she'll have a major redesign in the second episode if I get around to it as well. But if we open up the rig, the actual setup is quite simple. overall. So the only thing at this point that has a direct skinning on it is the jaw. So the jaw is driven by not by blend shapes, but it's driven by basically two very special joints. This one here and this one here. And these ones deform the lips, essentially, like the major parts of the lips, so I can get a lot of control over the shapes. And then on top of that, if I reset that, I have blend shapes for everything else. So I have blend shapes for smile, blink, left, right, sad, left, right, sneer, left, right, middle, smiles, frown, cheek puff, etc. So basically, they're all driven by drivers. So as you can see, if I look at that now, let's push that out now and go to the rig, you'll see that the cheek puff has now got a value of 1.5. So yeah, really simple little setup. It's like classic sort of rigging techniques. The only thing I did do to give it a little bit more of a fleshiness is that when the eyes move, the eyelids move with it. And that's a really simple little trick as well. The only thing I did was I gave this area and this area at the bottom a slight weighting on from the eyeballs from which part was it that was deforming? I can't even remember at this point. Oh yeah, I was even lazier than that. I didn't even actually make any deformed joints. I used the direct controls, I think. Control I. Yeah, I was so lazy at that point. I break my own rules all the time when it comes to my personal projects that I enabled deform on these controllers here to allow myself to sort of get a little bit of fleshy eye going on there. But that was it. That's it, really. Everything else is blend shapes. The cool thing about this is that you can set up the parenting to sort of have all kinds of stuff. So it's really just down to clever parenting to get certain things to work really well, like crazy eyes or one eye small, one eye large. So you'd be surprised how flexible a rig can be when you just have a clever hierarchy and then have very simple deformations. Because now, if I open up the mouth here, for instance, because these two joints here, 1 and 2, are children of this joint here, I can scale into a surprised look, which is pretty cool, and it's very easy to do. But yeah, I'll probably do a tutorial on making a face rig like this in the future. Oh no, my pleasure, my pleasure. All right, cool. I'm gonna wrap it up there. An hour and 15 minutes is enough for me to stop to recoup from talking. But yeah, it's been really fun doing this shot. I'm really happy with the results so far. Yeah, super happy with the results so far, actually. Did I open it that twice? No, I didn't. Well, you can always borrow it if you have to. But yeah, I'm really happy with that. I'll refine it more tonight, but otherwise it's looking really, really cool. And I'll probably do a render later this evening when I have time. But yeah, apart from that, I'm gonna wrap it up, and yeah, I'll let you guys go. Thanks for watching for those overseas, especially those who are up late. It's been really fun. Of course, feel free to check out the video I just posted about an hour and a half ago at this point, because it's really cool. It teaches you how to do muscles in anything really. I'm just doing it in terms of using it with a dragon. So yeah, it's really fun, really easy to do, and